Echoes of a revolution. What came after the fire? There's something haunting about the silence that follows a storm. When the protests die down, when the chants fade into memory, when the cameras turn away and the headlines move on, what remains is often the most honest part of the story. After the government raids, the media slander, and the heartbreak of assassinations, many Americans thought the Black Panther Party had simply disappeared. But movements like theirs don't just vanish, they change form. They endure in quieter ways, in kitchens, in classrooms, in corners of the community where the cameras never looked. By the early 1970s, the party that had once shaken the foundations of American politics was no longer the same. The weight of COINTELPRO had been devastating. Dozens of local chapters had crumbled. Members were jailed, in exile, or simply gone, burned out by the relentless pressure of being hunted in their own country. Trust within the movement was fractured. Unity gave way to suspicion. And yet, even in the face of such turmoil, the spirit of the Panthers found new ways to survive. Some members chose to leave political organizing altogether. They returned to their families, to quiet lives far from the spotlight. But they carried with them the lessons of revolution. They taught their children about history that was never taught in schools. They knew what it meant to serve a community, to question authority, and to love blackness without apology. Others, like Elaine Brown, rose to leadership in difficult times. When she became chairwoman of the party in 1974, she didn't just break barriers as a woman. She tried to redirect the party's energy into the political system itself. Brown believed that if real power couldn't be seized from the outside, perhaps it could be earned from within. Under her leadership, the Panthers ran electoral campaigns, lobbied for policy change, and continued their survival programs where they could. She understood that revolution was not just a battle in the streets. It was a battle in schools, in healthcare, in local government. Her approach was different from Huey's, different from Eldridge's, but it was born from the same flame. Meanwhile, Huey Newton, once the face of the movement, struggled under the weight of fame, trauma, and inner demons. After years of exile in Cuba and legal battles back home, he returned to Oakland a changed man. Brilliant still, but wounded. He tried to reintegrate into community work and academic life, even earning a PhD in social philosophy. But the scars of the war he had fought, on the streets and within his soul, never fully healed. The party itself officially disbanded in 1982. There was no grand announcement, no final march, just the slow dimming of a flame that had once burned too brightly to be ignored. But if you listened closely in the years that followed, you could still hear echoes. You could see them in the rise of grassroots health clinics across America, in the push for school breakfast programs that mirrored what the Panthers had started. You could feel it in the continued resistance to police violence, in the way young activists studied Panther literature as a blueprint for organizing. In many ways, the Black Panther Party never died. It simply became part of the bloodstream of American protest. A legacy passed down not by institutions, but by stories. Stories told at kitchen tables. Stories remembered during college teach-ins. Stories that lived in murals, in music, in the quiet pride of elders who once wore the uniform, now walking slowly through farmers markets or Sunday church. To understand what came after the fire is to understand what real change looks like. It is not always loud. It is not always fast. And it does not always come with victory parades. Sometimes, it is found in the fact that so many who once were forgotten now refuse to be invisible. That young people still say all power to the people with a conviction older than themselves. That food banks, clinics, and community defense programs exist at all is in part because the Panthers existed first. For those who lived through those turbulent years, the story of the Panthers can feel like a memory half wrapped in grief, half in pride. You may remember the fear, the tension, the arguments around the dinner table, but you may also remember the feeling, the quiet thrill of watching young men and women stand up and say, "No more." The sense that someone was finally speaking truth to power, that someone was finally speaking for you. And now, decades later, when you hear echoes of that same energy rising again, in marches, in songs, In the eyes of a new generation, it's worth remembering that they did not start from scratch. They stand on shoulders. They walk through doors the Panthers kicked open. They inherit not only the anger, but the hope, the relentless belief that America can still be what it promised to be. In the next episode, we'll reflect on what the Panthers left behind, not just politically, but culturally. The fashion, the music, the art, the language. The way they changed how Black America saw itself and how the rest of the country saw Black America. Because revolution isn't only about confrontation. Sometimes it's about identity, about dignity, about redefining what it means to be powerful. If this story stirred something in you, memories, questions, feelings you hadn't revisited in years, we hope you'll subscribe, leave a comment, and share your experience. Because history lives longest when we tell it out loud. And the story of the Panthers is not just a story of the past, it's a mirror and a message for today.